That our topic today is an unexpected point of tension or tension point in a marriage. Go further, Dr. Karam.
Yeah, and I'm referencing, you look up the Wall Street Journal today, Elizabeth Bernstein, great columnist. Her column is called Bonds, Terry, so you think of money, but it's a play on words in the sense that she writes about relationships.
When you said that, I thought of Barry Bonds. What does that say about me?
That's not a guy to take relationship advice from, I'll tell you that.
Or steroids from.
Yeah, Barry.
What does she say?
Well, the whole column is about this empty nest period where you might not have any overt conflict with your partner. And we were talking about in the article that you wake up one day and you have not reassessed at the halfway point of the year. You've over-focused on other parts of your life, primarily kids or your career. And then you wake up and you turn around, you look on the other side of your bed and your partner, even though you kind of see him every day, in a lot of ways they're a stranger to you. And there's no overt conflict, but you find out, man, I have nothing in common with this person anymore. So what am I going to do with the next half of my marriage, the next half of my life?
Good question, and a daunting thing for a lot of people who've been so used to having a partner, but it's almost like a silent partner in many ways. You know each other's moves, you know what each other's going to say, you know each other's responses by looks, by visual signs.
Right, and a lot of people think, just because I've been with this person for so long, I can mind read. I know what they're thinking. I know what they like. And it's the number one most common misconception is that just because we're with someone a long time that we know what's going on with them. Well, you can get out of date, as I say, on knowledge of your partner's world very quickly if you're not kind of continually staying curious. So you probably right now, Terry, you're riding the wave. You have a real strong marriage and you're a newlywed.
We are so in love.
That's right.
It is crazy.
You probably know what Mary's favorite color is, her favorite movie.
We were out last night, as a matter of fact, and while we were having dinner, I only looked over her shoulder at the Reds baseball game on the monitor like 12 times. The Reds won 8-1. By the way, it was a rain out.
The idea, though, is what naturally we do early in relationships is really work on our curiosity, stoke the friendship component of the relationship as far as knowing what your partner, that includes from simple questions to their favorite movie, their favorite food, to larger questions. What are their fears? What are their hopes or anxieties? Couples naturally do this early on much better, and they don't do it as you age. And if you overfocus on your children or other parts of your relationship and you're not nurturing the couple part, you're operating on out-of-date knowledge. All the marital research, famous researcher John Gottman, it says really the most significant predictor of who makes it and who doesn't, the masters of marriage compared to the disasters, are the people that stoke the friendship component. And just think of your friend. Most people in good friendships, they're give and take. And number two, you stay up to date with your friend. Maybe you haven't talked to them in a while, but you figure out what's going on with them. You don't assume, and you be real curious. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you've over-focused on other parts of your relationship and not the couple part, well, what can you do? Because if you wake up in one of those situations where your 18-year-old is going off to school and you realize, I don't know this person next to me and we got nothing to keep us together, you've waited too long. So you really want to start nurturing that friendship early on. So what people do, Terry, is number one, they prioritize the couple. If you had a game for your kid, a doctor's appointment for your kid or yourself, you probably wouldn't miss it. Couples, though, have a hard time putting their date night, or as I call protected time, on the calendar, and that's a first way to start, is make sure that's a priority.
All right, hold that thought. We're going to continue with Dr. Eli Karam in a few minutes because we're going to talk about the difference between people who let one kid go away. There's sort of a half of an empty nest to a full tilt empty nest, and they're completely different dimensions. All the attention focuses on the baby, it's like, other troubles ahead there. Dr. Eli Karam, marriage and family. Karam is in the studio with me. We're talking about tension points. And one of those may be unforeseen in your marriage. That's when one of the kids leaves, right? Or is it the first one, or were you were originally talking about when you were a complete empty nester?
Right.
If you had 4 kids, it's when the 4th one's gone.
2 spikes in divorce rates. The first spike is for the first 7 years of a marriage, and we also see a increased rate when the last child launches, when they leave home. So you don't want to wait till then, in the sense that if you have not been nurturing your relationship, or you've been over-focusing on, maybe you're great co-parents, right? Because lots of people are. You agree on how you're going to raise your kids. Your kids have not caused you any problems, but you haven't focused on the couple relationship. So just because you're good co-parents does not mean you're going to be great, marital partners. And with anything, if you let it slide, avoidance kind of leads to more and more and more. So you got to work on that relationship. We were saying before the break, one of those tips is setting up this protected time. Another tip is if you think you're over-focusing on your child, you probably are. We were talking about that on the break. What happens if you leave, one child launches, but you have another one at home? Well,
and then you get laser focused on that one remaining child, who then feels like they're
the identified patient, we call it in family therapy, where all the problems get detoured on that
everything's
child.
there. The light is shining down on that one person all the time. This, everything you do is enhanced because your parents have nothing else to do.
That's right. Or potentially, lots of people are very comfortable in their parental roles. That is their mission. A lot of marriage and family therapists are going to deal with teenagers, and the parent says, fix my child. And marriage and family therapist says it doesn't work that way. We got to see the whole family, because a lot of times parents will inadvertently overfocus or pathologize their teenager when their teenager is doing normal teenage stuff, testing limits, experimenting here or there. So if you want to see your child is a problem or your teenager is a problem, there's a good chance they'll do things to confirm that, versus the more adaptive thing is to have a good relationship with your teenager, meet them where they're at, but also model for that teenager. You want them to turn out well. I always tell parents that are over-focused on their teenagers, you really want to do something for them. Model what a healthy relationship is. And if your son or daughter sees you focusing all your time on them and not taking care of your own relationship, that's not healthy. So again, get back to this protected time and start having this conversation. I always tell couples, it's like when their last child enters high school, they need like a 4-year plan. Where do we want to be in 4 years? And not just, most people think of finances. They think they have a financial plan. They even have a college plan for their kids. We were talking about this 6-month evaluation mid-year earlier, Terry, but most people don't have a plan for the couple. Where do we want to be in 4 years? The type of life we want to be living, what types of places do we want to go, but how are we going to get there? So if I'm operating on out-of-date knowledge now, how am I going to bridge the gap in 4 years so I actually want to be with this person and have the second half of our marriage, second half of our life together? So a marriage and family therapist can kind of help you start that dialogue, prime the pump for curiosity, but you got to want to do it. And people think this misconception is the longer you're married, the easier it gets. And I know in my long-term relationship, that's not the way it works. It's like you got to keep pushing, keep working on those things. And what is current knowledge, 1 year when your kid is a grade schooler is not going to be when your son or daughter gets ready to launch. So you got to keep that knowledge current.
Here you are talking about valuable moments in your marriage, and my wife just walked in behind you and then spun around and turned away. I don't even know what that meant. Is that a sign, Dr. Karam? She heard you talking and then just spun around and walked out. Oh, there she is waving through the window. Come in here. Now his feelings are hurt, honey. Oh, man, that hurts. Sorry about that,
She
Eli.
was making
I shouldn't have even mentioned
gestures
that
behind my back.
No, she was bringing me a cool beverage
Yes.
because of the sweet wife she is. Thank you, sweetie.
Thanks. Hi, Doctor.
Hi.
There, thank you very much.
That's like she brings him, every time I come in around between 3 and 3:30 every day, she brings him a nice caffeinated beverage.
This
It
is our protected
That's your protected time. You make your work-life balance. You combine the two. You get but it's really true. These successful couples along the line, they have these points of connection during the day.
Yeah.
The research has distilled it down to the magic 15 minutes, Terry. It's before you leave in the morning. It is reunion, and if you work in the same spot, you can do it in the middle of the day, and it's at the end of the day before you go to sleep. It's these points of connection, knowledge of your partner's world. So if you haven't worked on it, go out and work on it. Know your partner.
I know my partner. I'm wearing her Spanx right now.
That's right.
Yeah. It's all good, brother, man.
That's all right, my friend.
Dr. Eli Karam. His website is elikaram.com. It's spelled Karam. Good to talk to you again, brother.
See you in a few weeks.
Happy 4th.